of our neighbors, our friends, our loved ones here in Calgary. Every single one of those deaths is a terrible loss to our community because these are our people. And as we start to ease restrictions a little bit, as you wander around the city, you'll see that the flags on City of Calgary public buildings are still at half staff to remind us of the almost incalculable loss of the lives, of the potential, and of the people that we love. And our heart breaks for the families, for the loved ones, but really for all of us who live here in this community. Now, that said, the numbers are starting to look better. We certainly have flattened the curve. We are in a position where restrictions are being eased. And of course, we went to, in beautiful bureaucratic government speak, phase 2 of stage 1 yesterday. In normal people speak, that means that restaurants and hair salons were able to open with many restrictions. And we're slowly getting to a new kind of reality together. I won't say we're going back to normal because we're not, but we're getting to a new kind of reality where it's really important that every single one of us continue to take all of the actions we can take to create to make sure that everyone, including ourselves, are safe. That means physical distancing is still important. That means it's even more important than it was before to wear a mask or a face covering to cover your mouth and nose when you are out in public, and to continue to make sure that we have all these numbers moving in the right direction. It is almost certain, if we keep up the same level of testing, that as we start to ease restrictions, the numbers are going to go up. But our job is to make sure they don't go up too much, that we continue not to overwhelm the healthcare system. So with that, we have lots of stuff to talk about COVID and just about the city and stuff that's going on as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Sue Henry, the Deputy Chief of the Calgary Emergency Management Agency. She will take it from here. We'll hear from our city manager, and then you will hear from me again at the end. Sue.
Thank you, Your Worship, and good afternoon. Thank you all for joining us today. I'd like to remind citizens that we remain in a state of local emergency. This is to support the collective efforts of the City of Calgary and the Government of Alberta as we combat COVID-19. As the Mayor mentioned, yesterday was the next step in Calgary's relaunch. Hairstyling and barbershops, as well as cafes, restaurants, pubs, and bars opened for table service at 50% capacity. The vast majority of business owners and patrons did a fantastic job on day one of Calgary's reopening. Thank you. Business licensing received only 2 complaints, both related to physical distancing in hair salons, and our officers worked with the business owners to remedy the concerns, and both businesses are now in compliance with public health orders. If day one is any indication of what to expect, it's clear that business owners and patrons are taking the public health measures seriously. We know our city is eager to reopen and join the rest of the province in phase 1. We appreciate the willingness of the business owners and patrons to comply with these public health orders as we all learn to adapt to a new normal. We need to be patient and understand that everyone needs to make decisions they are comfortable with. Some businesses are choosing not to reopen at this time. Some are opening in a more restrictive way, and some are opening at the 50% capacity. Business licensing officers will continue to be out this week, helping ensure the safety of staff and patrons in all of these establishments. Most of the feedback that we have received is that businesses are really trying to work through this new operating landscape. It's a great time for us as Calgarians to help these businesses be successful. Talk to the management of a business if you see a change in something that can be done to make the business more safe. It's natural to think that as reopening begins, it must mean that the risk is lower. This results in a false perception that we can return to what we defined as normal before this started. We all know that COVID remains, and we've seen our friends in Central Canada continue to have troubles. This really is about finding the balance between the virus, the mental health challenges, and the economy. We remain in this together and need to continue to respect that some folks want to eat out. They want to go shopping. They want to enjoy the sunshine, while others want to live cautiously in the comfort of their homes. Whatever your personal stance is, as the restrictions ease, we need to proceed thoughtfully and constantly evaluate our relaunch strategy to ensure the safety of our families, our friends, our neighbors, and the residents of Calgary. We need to continue to maintain the everyday practices that has helped us get here today. These include physical distancing, frequent hand washing, and wearing a face covering when you're in an area that you cannot maintain physical distancing. We need to start this cautiously and proceed as we gain confidence and see results. An update from the weekend for the enforcement activities that occurred over the weekend. I'm happy to share that this past weekend, peace officers and parks ambassadors' observations were overwhelmingly positive. Thank you, Calgary. These are hard changes that are impacting our normal routines. Thank you for making new routines at this time. The warmer weather played a role in increasing the volume in busier parks, and this is a trend that we will continue to see. There are still physical distancing issues around skate parks, and we did experience some challenges in Eau Claire due to the sheer volume of people that were visiting the area. We are working on developing more opportunities to continue to separate people who bike from people who walk, allowing more people the space to physical distance. In the meantime, we ask you to visit a different park if you arrive at a park and the park is crowded. There are a few known hotspots in Calgary, and we're asking Calgarians to avoid the following parks due to congestion: the Eau Claire Promenade, Princess Island Park, Sue Higgins Dog Park, and Nose Hill Park. We continue to start with a lens of education when we're interacting with the public. Over the weekend, our parks ambassadors spoke with over 10,372 people that were out enjoying our parks and pathways. Our community peace officers conducted 190 visible patrols. 64 calls were received related to concerns about folks not following public health orders. This included physical distancing, public gatherings, and the use of closed playgrounds. Our community police officers, through these initiatives, issued 142 verbal warnings. Overall, through the weekend, we're happy to report there were no tickets handed out for public health violations. 3 tickets were issued to citizens for violating various bylaws. This included parking, responsible pet ownership, and traffic. Again, thank you, Calgary. These numbers have been steadily decreasing over the last 3 weeks, and this is a result of the work that you and your families have been doing. Our business license team was also out over the weekend, and they received 21 calls and conducted 32 inspections. Through all of these inspections, only 1 location was found not adhering to physical distancing, and that location was issued a warning. Business license inspectors and community peace officers will continue to be visible in our community to help ensure the safety of citizens, staff, and patrons of businesses for the foreseeable future. Citizens are encouraged to continue to report complaints so that our officers may investigate quickly. Switching topics a little bit for you for golf courses. With the spring weather, our golf courses continue to be very popular. We have a higher demand for play than tee times available for booking. To date, 6,833 people have played golf at a city-owned course since opening on May 14th, and 7,460 people have registered to book tee times this summer. We have received great feedback from the public and from the staff around the operation of these golf courses. Thank you for your continued patience and understanding and the kind words that you have shared back with us. We have direct feedback that golfers feel safe, they're respecting the rules, and enjoying the opportunity to have the first few swings of the year. A quick update on the Blue Cart service for you. As of May 25th, there are no additional cases of COVID-19 at the Cascades Recovery Sorting Facility. We're pleased to report that 9 of the infected employees have recovered. The recycling facility is currently operating at 50% capacity and is looking to increase to 75% throughout the week as more recovered employees are able to return to work. This will bring us closer to normal operations at this facility again. We will continue to send as much material to the recycling facility as possible. If you've been hanging on to your material and cannot hang on to it anymore, please put your blue card out for pickup. Blue carts will continue to be picked up this week. We apologize for any inconvenience, and we're really pleased that Cascade's recoveries operation is moving in the right direction, with support for employees and finding ways to keep as much of the recycling operations going as we can. A big thank you to Calgarians for being so patient during these COVID-19 challenges. As always, a quick reminder to keep putting the right items into the right colored bin. Thank you, and with that, I'll pass to City Manager David Duckworth.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Henry, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm here to talk about everybody's favorite topic, and that's property taxes. I should point out that I'm joined today with our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Carla Mail, and she and I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So this week, the city began mailing over 500,000 residential and non-residential property tax bills. All property owners should receive their tax bill in the mail within the next 2 weeks. We know many Calgarians are facing financial challenges because of COVID-19. For those who were able to pay their property taxes by the June 30th deadline, we thank you. Property taxes fund important city services that Calgarians count on every day, like police, fire, and transit. To help those who may be struggling to pay their household and business expenses, the city has moved the property tax payment due date from June 30th to September 30th, interest and penalty free. In an effort to support our local businesses, City Council has created a more equitable and balanced approach to sharing the property tax responsibility between residential and non-residential properties. For 2020, this means that non-residential property owners will receive a combined provincial and municipal tax decrease of 12%. Residential property owners will see a combined provincial and municipal tax increase of 7.5%. This is roughly equivalent to 66 cents more per day for the typical Calgary household. City employees are working hard to find the right balance to maintain citizen and employee safety and provide the services Calgarians rely on every day. We continue to explore ways to overcome our collective financial challenges as a result of the economic downturn and impact of COVID-19. With that, I'll turn it over to Your Worship, Mayor Nenshi.
Thanks very much, David. Yes, talking about the tax bill is not the most funnest thing, but thank you to citizens who continue to pay the lowest residential property taxes and among the lowest business property taxes in the country. Again, as David mentioned, the due date is June 30th, but we wanted to take a little bit of that pressure off of people's shoulders who are feeling financial difficulty. So for both businesses and for homeowners, if you're unable to pay on June 30th, you can pay as late as September 30th without interest and without any penalty. I also just wanted to reach out to Calgarians and say, please continue to provide us with your feedback through 311 or other means for the various things you're seeing. I know that yesterday we started with more restricted transit service, and I, for one, am actually quite interested to know how that's impacting people's lives, particularly as a few more people are starting to go to work again. And we continue to balance this stuff very carefully as we go forward. And of course, we'll be available to answer any questions on any of these issues. Now, I want to say that although sometimes I feel like a downer by reminding people that we're not out of the woods at all, we are winning the battle. Citizens have done an extraordinary job in helping us flatten the curve, in keeping the healthcare capacity available for folks who do unfortunately get ill. And as we're seeing the slow easing of restrictions, it's not a reopening, it's not a relaunching, but it is an easing of restrictions so that we can do some other things. And now, of course, restaurants and hair salons are open. I will remind you, I know what I'm about to say sounds ridiculous, but I'm going to say it. I will remind you that you still must keep physical distance between yourselves and people outside of your bubble, outside of your cohort family. So that means that while restaurants and bars are open, you can only sit at a table with people in your cohort. Your softball team can't sit at the table together. You must still be physically distanced by that 2 meters or that 6 feet or that Samson and a half. These things really matter. Um, Chief Sampson is pointing out that he is taller than that, but it's always better to be conservative on these things. You still have to do that. And so, I've been telling the story that for Eid this week, in Eid Mubarak to all of those celebrating in the community. But for Eid this week, I went over to my sister's house for an Eid dinner. And it sounds weird to describe what we had to do. But in fact, it was great and normal. Well, not normal. So the food was brought and left on the front step. It was all plated separately. We sat outdoors, outside. Her family sat on one side of the yard. Mine sat about 6 feet away, closer to the other side of the yard. And it sounds so weird, but it was actually lovely. We were in a circle with a big break in the middle, and we were able to look at each other and have a celebratory meal together. So even though when you're going to a restaurant or a bar, you are going there with the people in your cohort, if your softball team happens to be there sitting at the next table, you can still chat with them. You can still be together, even though you're physically apart. But I do want to remind people, because there's been a lot I've been hearing saying now I can meet my buddies at the bar, I can go for dinner with my friends. We're not there yet. We're not there yet. And I think it's important for people to remember that, because we do know, as we're learning more about this mysterious virus, we do know a few things. We know that duration matters, how long you're in contact with people, as well as distance. We do know that it is harder to transmit the virus outdoors than indoors. And so we use these things to do common sense stuff. If you are going to meet up with your softball team and know you can't play softball, that is still prohibited. But if you are going to meet up with your team and sit on a patio and spread yourselves out with the couples at different tables, that's actually okay. It's weird and it's different, but it's allowed. But I want people to be very responsible and very careful as they're thinking about these things and keep all of those issues in mind. So I just want to repeat what I've been saying for quite some time, which is of all of the 6 pieces of advice that I've been giving: clean hands, clear heads, open hearts, stay safe, be kind, together we'll save lives. I really want to focus on be kind. I know that there are still lots of mixed emotions out there. I know that many people think we're moving too fast, that some people think we're moving too slowly, that some people are mad at businesses for opening, that some are mad at businesses for staying closed. And ultimately, just put it all away, put it in a drawer. Just be kind. Be kind to those businesses that are legally operating. They made a tough decision for themselves. And ultimately, they decided they wanted to be in the business they love, that they wanted to be able to serve their customers and help their employees with their livelihoods. Be kind to those businesses that don't feel right about opening, that don't feel that they can do it in a safe manner for their customers or their employees. Be kind to everyone who is raring to go. Be kind to those who think we're going too quickly. Ultimately, we're being reasoned, we're being thoughtful, and we're moving in a way that we believe, and the province of Alberta believes, makes sense for everyone. I want to just highlight one little local business. When the hair salons opened yesterday, my new barber shop opened. Clearly, I did not go. But I just love the story of this barbershop. It's a barbershop in Northeast Calgary that is owned by two young men, cousins, who came to this country as refugees from Syria. And in just a few short years, they've been able to open their own business, which has already become a major community hub. And I know that one of the reasons they wanted to open again was to make sure that people could still feel that sense of community despite being physically distanced. And so thank you to them for continuing to do that. Remember that the advice is still If you can work remotely, if you're an employer or an employee and you can work remotely, we still recommend remote work. That is still the advice here in stage 1. That will not be lifted until stage 2 at the earliest. Stage 2 will not come any earlier than the 3rd week of June. And so if you're still working remotely, please continue to work remotely. I know that many childcare centers have reopened with restrictions, but that others are not yet able to open up. And our economy can't function without that. So again, be kind as people are thinking about this. This kindness is really what is going to define this moment of our crisis. So remember, one more time. Boy, I sound like a broken record. As we ease restrictions, the power to keep that curve flat is even more in your hands. It's even more in the individual decisions that you make about physical distancing and about ensuring that we're doing everything we can to prevent the spread of the virus. So remember the little rule that I've been giving you since the beginning. Don't act like someone who doesn't want to get sick. Act like someone who already has the virus and doesn't want to spread it. Act like everyone you come into contact with is your 90-year-old grandmother. So keep that physical distance, wear your mask or your face covering when you're out in public, and we'll go from there. Now, as I said, the physical distance, 2 meters, 6 feet, a full-grown llama, 1.5 Chief Samsons. But I have a new list. And thank you to Calgarian Joe McKeever, who gave me a new list because she was sick of hearing me say a full-size llama. So she's given me a Stampede-inspired list. You need to keep apart from people who do not live in your house. Buy 5 cowboy hats, 12 stacks of flapjacks, 1 longhorn steer, 15 Caesars, or 36 mini donuts. I feel like I need to check your math, Joe. And I think that is going to require me to have a very large number of mini donuts in order to measure them. So thank you for that. So again, continue to everyone. Tom Sampson is trying to give me more things to measure by. I think he's really tired of me saying 1.5 Samsons. Anyway, I want to ask you to continue to do what you've been doing, which is really keeping one another safe. So again, clean hands, clear heads, open hearts. Stay safe. Be kind always. And I want to remind you that because of your actions, we have saved so many lives. And your work is going to continue to save lives. So with that, we'll go to questions. Operator, first question, please.
First question comes from Tyson Fedor of CTV Calgary. Your line is open.
Hi there. Good afternoon. This is for the mayor or for Sue. Just on regards to pop-up patios, I know a lot of restaurants are looking at expanding their patio space onto the sidewalks in the city, and I know council's been looking at that idea and working with some of the associations. We've spoken to some businesses, though, that say it's actually impacting them in a negative light that are located next to some of these restaurants and bars. I guess some of them aren't opening and they're relying on curbside delivery, but with the road closures for pedestrian traffic to allow for that extra patio space. So what can you say to businesses that might not necessarily need a patio and don't operate a patio and feel that they're kind of being left out of this whole relaunch strategy?
I think we just have to be good neighbors and we have to be generous and thoughtful. I'm not aware of any specific concerns, but for example, if I'm a restaurant and the store next door needs the space for curbside delivery, I probably ought not to be expanding into their space. If on the other hand, and I can think of a few examples right now, that I've got a store next to my restaurant that's not yet reopened or is open online only, then I would say to that next door neighbor, why don't you be a little generous and let them use some of your frontage to increase the patio as well. Ultimately, we're just trying to do what's right for all businesses. And it like everything, it's all about being a good neighbor and looking out for one another, and we will continue to do that. And then these things will work themselves out. Do you have a follow-up?
Able to answer this one, but do you happen to know how many restaurants or businesses have potentially applied for an expansion of patio space?
Do you have an updated number, Sue? We can find an updated number, but I do know that we were in the 40 range before Monday, before the restaurants were able to reopen. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Kevin Nimick of CTV. Your line is open.
Hi there, Mayor. I know we were starting to hear earlier this week that there would start to be more enforcement for transit riders. I'm wondering if you can speak on the sort of revenue loss the city has received
Yeah.
over the last, let's say, 3 months, not just to do with transit, but we're talking about parking, we're talking about parks and
Do you want
rec
to take
services,
it, Carla?
all sorts of people seeking refunds. So how big of a deal is that? And can we even start talking about getting back on track with revenue, or are we still months away from that?
Oh, we're months away from that. There is no way that we will be able to achieve our revenue goals or our revenue budget for this year by the end of the year. It is impossible. So we have to really fill that, and that's why I've been having so many conversations with provincial and federal governments to really highlight the fact that we are looking at least a nine-figure deficit by the end of this year. Really, it can be anywhere from 150 million at the low end to almost 400 million at the high end. That's a very, very big problem that we've got to solve. So in terms of total revenue loss, I'll call up our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Mail, just now, but I will tell you that we had been losing in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 million a week overall on everything to the organization. It's gotten a bit better, but those transit losses are enormous. So you imagine that our bus ridership is down 80%, our C-train ridership is down 92%, and we have had to, unfortunately, let a number of people go, and we've had to cut service as of Monday by 30%. But 30% is not 92%. This is still a critical service. There's still 100,000 plus boardings a day, and we have to provide this service to everyone, but we are bleeding money doing it. I'll turn it over to Ms. Mail.
Thank you. We have had quite a number of changes as a result of the measures put in place from the public health orders. And so we have seen revenue losses, as His Worship mentioned, from our transit area. But we've also closed our recreation facilities. And so the revenues associated with those have also gone. There have been delays in some planning and permit fees. And I would say, generally speaking, every single unit at the city who does collect third-party revenue has seen a decline. We've also seen some offsetting savings as well from a positive standpoint, but when we think about some of the scenarios as to whether this stays to the end of June, to the end of September, and to the end of December, we're seeing net losses in the range of 145 million to about 250 million. So we have taken some temporary service changes. We have, as His Worship mentioned, you would have seen some layoffs of some of our staff. We are working as hard as we can to fill that gap, but again, it's uncertain as to what comes forward, and the numbers are large. Thank you.
Did you have a follow-up, Kevin?
Yeah, I sure do. I'm wondering about parks in our city and playgrounds. Are we going to see those opening soon? Is there a plan? We've seen Airdrie and some other communities nearby open their parks. So what sort of decision making?
So parks never did close. We have kept parks and sport fields open, and we are allowing for more permits use as we're working with the various users to develop different ideas. Now, as for playgrounds, the current plan, and we'll have more to say about this on Thursday, but the current plan is to allow those to open for June 1st, next Monday. It's not just a matter of ripping down the yellow tape. We've gone through a long winter and many periods of many months of disuse, so they do all need to be inspected and made sure they're safe. So do not use your playground until that tape has been removed and it is clear to be used. But I have to make something clear, and you're going to hear me say this a lot over the next few days. Playgrounds remain a high-risk activity, and it is critical that parents are looking after their kids in a way much beyond what you ever did before. Those are high-touch surfaces. You don't know whose child or who touched that surface before your child. So when you go to the playground, you're going to take wipes with you. You're going to wipe down those surfaces before and after you use them because nobody else is doing it. They're not getting cleaned on a regular basis. It's impossible. You're going to wash your hands and your kids' hands before and after. You're going to have hand sanitizer with you. I know I sound like such a killjoy, but then the kids can have fun. But we do have to do these small things to ensure that we're keeping everybody safe. And we will have more information on that on Thursday, but our goal is June 1st. Sorry, Sue, I was calling you up, and I think I may have just answered the question. Was there anything to add? Okay, thank you. Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Madeline Smith of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Hey there. So I know we talked about this last week, I think, but there is some talk out there that Stephen Avenue is going to become pedestrian only. Is that the case? And how and why is that going to happen?
So I am not entirely aware. I am not aware of any plans to do that. I know people are talking about it, and I do know there is quite a difference of opinion among some of the different merchants along Stephen Avenue about it. Also, there is a concern about funneling too many people into one place, which is, of course, the same issue we have, for example, on the Eau Claire pathway. I'm open to having the discussion, but as I said earlier, for every restaurant that says, I want the space for my patio, I hear from a restaurant that says, I need to be able to have people drop off my elderly patrons right at my door, or I need cab service right there. So ultimately, you know, it's all about being good neighbors and figuring this all out. I know the Calgary Downtown Association, which is the association of the businesses on Stephen Avenue, is talking about this. I'm very open to have that discussion with them and just make sure that we're answering all of these questions to everyone's satisfaction before we make a decision. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I guess just to be clear, there is a counselor who, and this is just an offhand comment on social media, I haven't asked them about it, but has said that it's happening. So is this a move that some counselors are trying to look at, or what exactly is going on here?
If it is happening, nobody's told me or Calgary Emergency Management Agency. I know that the discussions are still going on. I don't know. Now, city manager doesn't know either. So presumably one of us would have heard. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Darren Krause of Livewire. Your line is open.
Thanks. I just want to touch on the golf courses a little bit. It's great to see so many people out there enjoying the golf courses, but we have yet to open up driving ranges, putting facilities, maybe some practice facilities that would take some of that pressure off of the actual tee times. Any idea when we're going to see some change in that front?
I'll turn it over to Chief Henry.
Thank you, Your Worship. We are continuing to work through the other services that go along with golf courses, things like the practice facilities as well as the driving range. And as soon as we have any changes or dates, we will make sure that you have those. Follow up?
Yeah, so way back at the beginning of all of this, I know one of the things, Mayor Nenshi, that you were a little bit disappointed about was that we weren't able to have our traditional Neighbor Day celebrations, and you were soliciting ideas for that, and I'm wondering if we have an update. What are we going to be doing about Neighbor Day this year?
Thanks so much for asking that question. We got tons of suggestions and ideas. Ultimately, we wanted to see where we might be at in terms of reopening, but we will have a lot more to say on some plans for, it's not virtual Neighbor Day, it's actual Neighbor Day. It'll just look a little different. And we will have some announcements on what Neighbor Day is going to look like in the next week or so. Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Scott Dipple of CBC Calgary. Your line is open.
Scott? Scott, we don't hear you. All right, why don't we go to the next question and we'll come back to Scott.
Our next question comes from Tamisa De Silva of Global TV. Your line is open.
Hi there. Back to the playgrounds. Can you tell me what we're doing to keep the little kids safe from some of the big ones? I live way in the suburbs, and there was a number of people, bigger kids, like groups of like 20 playing on the basketball field. So what are we going to be doing to keep the little kids safe if those kids are all in there and crowding all together?
I will remind folks that groups of 20 kids playing together is actually prohibited. We are allowed to have gatherings of up to 50 people outdoors, but social distancing must be maintained. And basketball, by the way, is a sport that is not allowed. You can't touch the same ball. Basically, no sport where you're touching the same piece of equipment with your hands is currently allowed. So if you are seeing stuff like that, talk to the parents. And if you're seeing it happening on a consistent basis, call 311. No, we're not going to give the children tickets and haul them off to jail. But sometimes it is helpful for them to have a conversation with someone in a uniform about what is the right thing to do and how to manage your behavior better. But ultimately, your parents, we need to make sure that we're keeping our kids safe. And unfortunately, as much as I love feral kids and sending kids out to play with children in the neighborhood, that's not a safe activity right now. Did you have a follow up?
Well, there were no parents around. I mean, these are teens probably from like 15 to 18. So how do we, when the little kids see the big kids playing like this, how do we tell them it's important to keep 6 feet apart from their friends?
Yeah, and that is a tough one. And certainly, you're welcome to tell them the big bad mayor said so, or the even bigger badder Chief Sampson said so. But ultimately, to deal with the teenagers, look, call 311. Don't feel like you're a tattletale here. A little bit of education can always help. All right, next question, please.
Our next question comes from Blake Law of Global Calgary. Your line is open.
Thank you. We're expecting an announcement from the NHL a little bit later on this afternoon, just in regards to a return to play. I'm just wondering, when the NHL season does return, are there any concerns around people, wanting to gather, wanting to watch some games, as we've been pretty starved of major sports?
Yeah, thanks for that. The return to play is very unlikely. You didn't ask this question, but I'll answer it anyway. The return to play is very unlikely to involve Calgary. While we did have, as a city, some initial conversations with the NHL around Calgary as a potential hub, we just didn't have the partnership desire to do that within Calgary, which in my opinion is too bad. It would have been nice to be able to have some of that here in Calgary. If it does end up in Edmonton, I will uncharacteristically say that's still good for Alberta. But in any case, so yeah, we're not going to be planning any, major outdoor gatherings to watch the games or anything like that. In the last time the Flames made the playoffs, I had really hoped they had gone deeper because we did have great plans for public celebration. We won't be doing anything like that. And again, if people are going to watch at their friend's house, again, watch outside. Set up a screen outside and watch outdoors as long as you're keeping 2 meters apart. That's awesome. If you want to go to a bar or a pub, you may do so. But remembering again that there are those distancing restrictions, the restaurants and bars are restricted to 50% capacity, and you shouldn't be sitting at the same table with someone outside of your bubble. I know it's not how we want to watch hockey, but they'll also be playing in empty arenas. So if we love the game, we'll figure out how to love the game with these new rules in place. Did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to, on a slightly different topic, I think I heard you say you're asking Calgarians to avoid Eau Claire Park and Princess Island Park. Those have been really busy areas the past little bit as the weather's gotten better. Is that going to be enforced in any way? Is bylaw going to be out there? Or are certain areas going to be maybe closed to the public? How's that going to work? Or is that just a friendly reminder?
Well, I'll turn it over to Sue, who will tell you a little bit more about enforcement. But I just want to say to Calgarians a sentence that Calgarians don't need any reminding of. Don't be like Toronto. We have a beautiful city that is full of green spaces. And there are great opportunities to get together in your own neighborhood, in non-traditional spaces. Not everybody has to go to the River Pathway or to Eau Claire, or what are the 4 big ones? Bowness Park, Baker Park, Sue Higgins Park, and Eau Claire?
The 4 are Eau Claire, Princess Island, Sue Higgins, and Nose Hill.
And Nose Hill, thank you. So, you don't all have to go there, even though these are big, beautiful parks. There are plenty of places where you can enjoy some green space throughout the city, and that's what we're really encouraging people to do. And a lot of this is going to be self-regulating. People want to stay safe. They want to keep the physical distance, and if it's totally impossible to do in Eau Claire, then, there are other places. And heck, there's a very long river pathway. You can certainly go to parts east on the Bow River where you will find a lot fewer people. So I'm really encouraging folks to be able to do that. That's the carrot. That's the friendly reminder. But Sue's going to tell you a little bit how we're going to enforce it.
So as I mentioned before, we do have a few hot spots in the City of Calgary where the parks are particularly busy. That's the Eau Claire Promenade, Princess Island Park, Sue Higgins Dog Park, and Nose Hill Park. In those areas, we are doing routine patrols with our community peace officers, and they'll be reminding people about social distancing, about physical space between folks. As we do with every other location, we will be starting from a place of education, but if we aren't able to get that compliance, we will move through the warning and to the ultimate enforcement aspect of that. Our goal throughout this entire event has been to keep park spaces open for Calgarians to be able to get out and get some exercise, but it really is up to Calgarians to do their part. If you arrive somewhere that is busy and you can't maintain physical distancing, please look for one of the other parks that it will be a little less visited. Any follow-up?
Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Kristen Anderson of Post Media. Your line is open.
Hi, Mayor Nenshi. I just wanted to ask about the stage 2 businesses reopening. Obviously, we're still in stage 1. Everyone knows that, and it's hard not to get ahead of ourselves. But is there, some observations that you'll be making in terms of, looking towards those next steps? Is there, recommendations that you can sort of give local businesses that are in stage 2, kind of eager to open? Just a comment on that.
Thanks very much. So just to be very, very clear, because the nomenclature is getting confusing, restaurants and hair salons for Calgary were phase 2 of stage 1. Next Monday, June 1st, will be phase 3 of stage 1. So phase 3 of stage 1 is some schools for summer school programs, day camps, and places of worship under some restrictions. There may be one or two others in there that I've forgotten. But that's the big thing for June 1st. So right now we're focused on those organizations and making sure that the guidelines are clear for those. So for example, with day camps, the restriction is 10 people, not 15, not 50. And so we're working on those folks right now. The guidelines are much more clear. It's much better than it was last time when the guidelines came out on Monday and the decision was made on Wednesday. So we should be able to help a lot of those organizations hit the ground running. I know within the City of Calgary's own world, we are looking hard at what kinds of day camps we could be offering. We certainly won't be offering any on Monday, but we're trying to figure that out as we go forward. Now, stage 2, we are told by the province, will come to us mid to late June at the earliest. June 19th is a potential date. I've given up on giving exact dates because I think people go, oh, he said June 19th. But sometime in mid to late June is the earliest we'll look at stage 2. Stage 2 involves a lot more personal care businesses like estheticians and so on. It includes massage therapies. It includes movie theaters. And so again, we will be pressing the province to develop its guidelines. Well, we have a SWAT team here at the city that is looking at best practice guidelines around the world to make sure that those businesses have the information they need in order to make the decision on whether they're going to open or not. Follow up?
Yeah, just wanted to ask, obviously with the stage 1, Calgary was a little bit behind because of obvious reasons. Do you anticipate that Calgary to be a little bit later than the rest of the province for this stage 2, or has that time sort of passed?
No, anything's possible. We're still accounting for nearly 70% of the active cases in the province are in the Calgary zone. The curve is getting flatter. There is no region in Calgary within the city that has more than 100 active cases right now. So if this positive trend continues, then I imagine Calgary will be on the same level as the other parts of the province. But I have to remind everybody that every part of the province is one outbreak away from being the worst place in the province. So, Newell County, that includes Brooks, went from having essentially 0 cases to having the highest number of active cases in the province in 3 days. So everywhere in the province is at risk, and I would imagine anywhere where there are active cases, the provincial government has shown that they are absolutely willing to slow down the easing of restrictions in those areas. Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Donna Spencer of the Canadian Press. Your line is open.
Hi, Mayor Nenshi. The NHL is talking about trying to get small groups of players practicing sometime in June, opening practice rinks and allowing small voluntary group workouts. And by extension, the Canadian Premier League wants to do the same in soccer for its players. I just wondered if there'd been any discussions with the Flames about allowing small groups of players into the Saddledome to practice, and by extension, any conversations with Bruce Meadows about practices out there.
Thanks, Donna. It's always a pleasure to get a question from you. I feel like I talk about sports so rarely these days. No, not that I know of. Certainly, that is something that we would be willing to have conversation with. Some of it can be done under current restrictions. But if you're really getting groups of people, players in particular, in close contact with one another, indoors, that is going to require a little bit of an easing of restrictions from public health. We would certainly be happy to entertain those conversations and act as a conduit for Spruce or the Flames with public health. But ultimately, that is a decision the province will have to make. Follow up, Donna?
My follow-up is I just wondered, you've spoken about how, we don't believe the virus spreads easily outside. I don't know if it would be any easier for the Calgary to run practices in, say, a hockey team that requires an indoor arena.
Yeah, I don't want to speculate too much on what public health is saying, but, look, we've allowed soccer drills to happen outdoors. We have not allowed hockey drills to happen indoors, and that's why. So, yeah, I would imagine that public health would be a little more open to easing restrictions outdoors rather than indoors, as they've already done. We have 50 people outdoors, 15 indoors. I'm not closing the door on it. It's not impossible. There are certainly ways to do it with tons of restrictions in place around congregating in locker rooms and things like that. It's absolutely doable. But again, the province is going to have to make that decision. Next question.
Our next question comes from Chris Epp of CTV. Your line is open.
Mayor, the provincial regulations say that restaurants can open if they have a maximum of 6 people at a table and they keep 2 meters apart. And I know that's what a lot of places in Calgary have been doing. But you've said a couple times today that you can only sit with your family or your cohort. Is that correct? Because that's not what restaurants have been working toward.
Yeah, Dr. Hinshaw has been very clear on this point, but she's also been clear on the fact that she's not expecting restaurants to fully enforce it, and the limit of 6 at a table is meant to be an enforcement structure for that. But she has been very clear that on everything, restaurants are not exempt from the rule that if you're meeting anyone outside of your cohort, you have to stay 2 meters apart.
Okay, sorry, just to clarify that then. So you're saying that they keep it at 6 so that can be enforced, but people are not supposed to be sitting at a table with someone outside their family?
That is the direction from public health. And, the reason that it's 6 per table is so even if you're having enforcement troubles, everyone goes, of course, this is my brother. I live with him. You're still at least limiting the number of people who are there. Did you have a follow-up, Chris?
I'm just clarifying. I don't think restaurants are aware of that. Do you think they are? Because in all their public...
Oh, yes, I think they're aware of that. But like I say, at the end of the day, I don't think anybody is expecting every server to card every single person to see what their home address is or if they belong to the same bubble. Because remember the bubble, I always use people you live with as my shorthand, but you can have a double bubble, right? You can have 2 families that are cohorting together. So ultimately, I'm not expecting, and I don't think the province is expecting every single server to be the police on this, but we are reminding people that that is the guideline, and as good citizens, you should be following the guidelines. All right, next question, please.
Next question comes from Scott Dipple of CBC Calgary. Your line is open.
Hi, Mayor. Just wondering if you could provide us with your reaction to the University of Calgary president saying that the U of C has no money for a field house at Foothills, and if you think that that is a setback to the project.
Look, I have a ton of respect for President Macaulay, who's probably had the single hardest first year as a university president ever. And we've had a good conversation about it. And fundamentally, look, the post-secondary institutions in Alberta, I can probably be even more blunt than the university presidents can, are going through unprecedented cuts, like nothing we've ever seen before. And if I were in the president of the university's shoes, I'd say, look, the dream of this field house is not something I can entertain right now when I'm trying to keep students in chairs, when my budget is being massively, massively cut by the provincial government. So look, I understand it. It's the right thing to do from their perspective. I do think that it opens up opportunities for us to think about the Foothills Field House project in a different way, because ultimately that project always was meant to fulfill the needs of the public, but also the needs of the university. It was a really nice partnership. And I want to make sure that whatever we go forward with doesn't preclude the university from being able to join that partnership when they've got a little more funding. But at the same time, it gives us the opportunity to be a bit more broad-minded in making sure that we're meeting the recreation needs of the community through the project. Did you have a follow-up, Scott?
Yes. Does that mean necessarily a scaling back in terms of what that project includes? I mean, you're trying to tap as many funding sources as possible, and you've lost one here.
It might be a scaling back, and it might be a scaling up. Because when you're trying to meet the needs of different user groups, sometimes you have to compromise. So ultimately, you may be able to make it a more pure facility for one kind of sport or another. So, we're starting a process where we're really going to be working with the community to develop a long-range plan for that area, as well as continuing to work with different sport groups to make sure that we're meeting their needs. All right, so with that, do we have any more questions in the queue?
We have our final question from Madeline Smith of the Calgary Herald. Your line is open.
Go ahead, Madeline.
Hi again. Just wondering how public transit is coping. Obviously, we only have sort of one day under our belts of some more businesses being reopened. But how is that situation? How are you monitoring it? And what's going on?
I don't have any real answers for you yet, Madeline. I'll probably have more to say about that on Thursday when we've got a little more data under our belts. But we are monitoring it very, very carefully because simultaneously with the reopening of restaurants and hair salons, we also had the 30% cut in service. So we're making sure that the service is an adequate minimum level, as well as making sure that people are able to do appropriate physical distancing on the vehicles. So we're looking at that very carefully, and I will probably have some real data for you either on Thursday or early next week. Did you have a follow-up, Madeline?
Perfect. Thank you. No, good. Thank you.
Super. So we'll wrap it up there then. Thank you, everybody. We will see you again on Thursday. Again, remember, stay safe, be kind to everyone. Together, we'll continue to save lives.